Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into some source material that exposes, honestly, a pretty massive illusion in the crypto space. You know the playbook, right? If you're building in Web3, the standard advice is just launch a Discord, tease an airdrop, and boom, a vibrant community will just magically appear. But as we're going to see today, the reality of building a deeply loyal blockchain audience is totally different, and frankly, a whole lot less sexy. Let's break down the framework for building a community of actual owners.
Our sources hit us with some really tough love right out of the gate here. They say, if your Discord dies when your token drops 80%, well, you built a casino, not a community. I mean, think about that classic GM spam we see literally everywhere. It kind of feels like real activity, but let's be real, it's just placeholder chat. It's people just lingering around the roulette table waiting for the next price pump. If your community is glued together by token price instead of an actual purpose, the very second that number goes red, the reason to stick around just completely vanishes.
And honestly, that leads us right to this absolutely wild statistic. 90% of Web3 communities are dead within 6 months. And here's the kicker. They aren't dying from some massive smart contract hack. Nope. They die from sheer, absolute apathy. You don't end up with a community. You end up with, 50,000 bots, 3,000 airdrop farmers, and maybe a handful of very angry users just constantly asking when Binance. To survive, real Web3 communities actually have to be built a lot more like sovereign countries. They need their own culture, a real functioning economy, and genuine shared skin in the game.
So how do we make that shift? Well, it starts with understanding the difference between renters and true owners.
The psychological shift here is just stark. In Web 2, you're essentially just renting an audience from centralized servers. Think Facebook or Instagram. The platform owns all your data, they pocket the revenue, and the user? Well, they just get a quick hit of dopamine. The whole mindset there is basically, what's in it for me today? But Web 3? Web 3 introduces the crypto wallet. Suddenly, users are holding a token or an NFT. They own a literal percentage of the network, which creates incredibly deep roots. They're voting, they're earning fees, they are actual stakeholders now. The entire psychology flips from what's in it for me right now to how do we all win together in 5 years?
Okay, let's look at who actually makes up these networks, because every protocol is going to attract a mix of people. But your survival? That depends entirely on who you actually design the system for. First up, you've got the farmers. This is that one guy sitting there controlling 10,000 wallets just hunting for airdrops. They are going to dump your token on day one. Their long-term value to your protocol is actually negative because you are literally paying them to leave. Next, the speculators. You know the type. They are incredibly loud when the price is pumping and complete ghosts the second it drops. Long-term value? Zero. And finally, we have the builders, the true owners. These are the people who actually use the product, give you real feedback, and naturally recruit others. 100 true builders are worth infinitely more than 100,000 farmers.
The sources give us a really brilliant, concrete metric to stress test any project, like right now. If less than 5% of your Discord members have actually used the product in the last 30 days, yeah, you don't have a community. You have a farm. It really is that simple. This means your entire onboarding process has to be designed from the ground up to filter out all that noise and exclusively attract those core builders.
Which brings us to a really crucial concept, building the foundation of 100.
Look, before you ever launch a public Discord, which, let's be honest, usually just rings the dinner bell for bots, our sources suggest passing the 100-person test. Step 1, you build in public, get on Twitter, get on Farcaster, and post your actual progress. Step 2, funnel the absolute highest signal people into a small Telegram group and cap it strictly at 100. Step 3, give those people core contributor roles, maybe non-transferable NFTs. Make it about status, not a quick flip. And step 4, ship the product to them and actually fix the bugs. Doing this proves a really harsh truth. If 100 people won't use your product, 100,000 definitely aren't going to.
Now, once you have that core group, how do you reward them? We need to talk about incentives without the Ponzi.
Let's just demystify a crucial piece of jargon from the sources real quick. Ponzonomics. This is exactly what destroys projects. If your system is offering, say, an APY over 20% that is paid for entirely by just printing more tokens, which is just inflation, or if it relies on a constant stream of new buyers but has zero external revenue, well, that is a massive red flag. A healthy token economy needs sinks, things like staking to earn actual protocol fees. And those sinks have to outweigh the faucets, which is the inflation. The ultimate test here is super simple. If 0 new buyers show up tomorrow, does the system still work? If the answer is no, actually, you need to go back to the drawing board.
So when you do finally go to reward that community, usually through an airdrop, You're going to face your absolute mortal enemy, the Sybil attacker. This is one person running automated scripts to spin up thousands of fake wallets just to completely drain your airdrop. To stop them, the sources are super clear on this. Sybil defense tools like Gitcoin Passport or World ID, they aren't just optional anymore. They are absolutely mandatory if you want to prove your users are actually flesh and blood humans.
And that brings us to the stark difference between a terrible airdrop and a great one. A bad airdrop, it just gives a flat amount, say 1,000 tokens, to every single wallet. That perfectly rewards those Sybil farmers we just talked about, who are going to take 90% of your supply and just dump it immediately. A good airdrop, on the other hand, is retroactive. It rewards past proven usage. It is rigorously Sybil filtered, it unlocks gradually over time so you don't get a massive dump, and crucially, it has day one utility, like staking for fees. Arbitrum is a really prime example of doing this right. They actually checked 2.5 million wallets to successfully filter out the farmers and make sure the true users got the rewards.
All right, moving on to the daily grind. Let's look at the community operations stack.
The sources really tear down this persistent myth that having a massive, open Discord means you have a community. In reality, a big Discord is mostly just a chaotic customer support queue. For those high-signal, really quality conversations, you want to be on platforms like Farcaster or in those tight Telegram groups. But managing these spaces, that leads straight to severe founder burnout if you aren't careful. You absolutely cannot expect unpaid volunteers to moderate for you 24/7. You need to actually pay 2 to 3 moderators straight out of your community. Think 1 to 3 grand a month. Leverage bots like Wick and ME6 to automatically zap malicious links. And here is the golden rule for founders. Time box your community interaction to about 1 hour a day. Honestly, if you are in there answering tickets 24/7, your actual product is gonna die.
Oh, and while we're talking about ops, there's one absolute golden rule of security that you just have to repeat constantly. Admins never DM. Scams where users get their wallets drained by fake support accounts are incredibly rampant out there. You have got to pin this rule, relentlessly educate your users, and as a founder, never, ever DM a user first. Period.
Okay, let's talk about the ultimate stress test for all of this: surviving the bear market.
Look, in a bull market, when your token is pumping to the moon, your Discord is a blast, and literally everyone claims to be in it for the community. But the inevitable reality of crypto is the bear market crash. Your token price plummets 90%. Your treasury is absolutely decimated, and 90% of that daily noise, it just evaporates.
Which forces every single builder to answer this one critical question. If your token drops to $0 tomorrow, who actually stays? The farmers? They're long gone. The speculators? Gone. The only people left are the true users whose actual problems your product solves, the paid builders who believe in the underlying tech, and the ideologues who are just totally committed to your mission. Your protocol has to be designed entirely for them.
So how do you actually survive when things get really quiet? Well, the sources outline a pretty solid bear market playbook. First, aggressively cut your burn rate. Reduce your team size so you guarantee a 3-year runway. Second, you just keep shipping. Ban price talk in your channels and push out new product features every single month. Third, utilize grants to retain your builders so they keep developing on top of your protocol. And fourth, communicate relentlessly. Even if your weekly update is literally just, hey, we're still here building, it completely calms the panic. And remember, giants like Uniswap, Aave, OpenSea, they were all built in the quiet, brutal depths of the 2018 bear market.
And they survive because they deeply understood this harsh truth. Token price is just marketing. Fees, however, are a business. If your token drops 90%, you need real revenue to keep the lights on and keep the developers paid. Just look at Ethereum name service, ENS. They make $20 million a year simply from $5 name registrations. There is zero token inflation required for them to survive. To make it through a bear market, your protocol simply must have external revenue.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. I want to leave you with a question that perfectly encapsulates this entire paradigm shift we've been talking about. Ask yourself honestly, are you building a community just to pump a token? Or are you designing a token to align and reward a true community? Because if you build for the latter, you're going to have a protocol that survives the bear, the bull, and literally everything in between. And ultimately, that is the actual promise of Web3. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.